After Novak Djokovic won his fourth round tie at the Australian Open, he refused to give the usual on-court interview. He later revealed that he felt insulted and disrespected by one of the sports reporters on the official broadcast channel, and he demanded that until he received an apology, he was not going to give any interviews. But does he have a case? For more on this story, stay tuned to Tega's Takes. During his report from around the grounds at the Australian Open, veteran tennis reporter Tony Jones came out standing in front of some Serbian fans chanting. And whilst they were chanting, we could hear the chants from the background. But he said that the Serbian fans were saying that Novak Djokovic is overrated, Novak Djokovic is a has-been, oh, kick him out. And then he laughs and he says, I'm glad they can't hear me. Obviously, alluding to the fact that he was joking. That was clearly not what they were chanting. It was a joke in poor taste, but a joke nonetheless. However, there's been so much backlash from around the world, and even Novak Djokovic taking a stance not to give any on-court interviews to Channel 9, who are the broadcast hosts, the platform on which Tony Jones was presenting, until he gets an apology. But here is what it is. The reason, and I think the only reason why this thing is this big, is because of the subject of the joke. Novak Djokovic. Now, let's roll it back to 2020 in the middle of the pandemic when the Australian Open was supposed to hold. At the time, it required that everybody got the COVID vaccination before they came into Australia. Novak Djokovic, whether because he's pro-choice or anti-vaccination, whichever one he stands for, decided that he was going to come into Australia without taking the vaccination. And so he was quarantined and eventually deported. He didn't participate at the tournament. But at the time, there were Serbian fans and some other fans who came to support at the time the nine-time champion. And there were other people that were saying, no, he shouldn't come into our country without taking the vaccination. And those people were saying, kick him out. So when Tony Jones comes up to say, kick him out as part of his joke in his report, it didn't really come across as light-hearted as it should have been, because there was a real life incident with real life consequences that they use that particular phrase in. And number two, and this is as important, even if people will think it's petty, of the big three, Rafa Nadal, Roger Federer, and Novak Djokovic. Novak Djokovic receives the least amount of accolades, and he wants to be recognized as the greatest tennis player of all time. He has the highest number of Grand Slam, he has the highest number of Masters, but for varied reasons, from on the court to off the court, a lot of people do not give him as much warmth as they give Rafa Nadal, and most especially Roger Federer. And so when you come out and say he's overrated or he's a has-been, it hits home for him much more than it would have hit with anybody else. And so whilst this is going on, let us remember this was a 17-second clip that we are basing our discussion on. That it was actually Tony Jones who told the Serbian crowd to chant behind his presentations, and it was part of his production. He wasn't trying to disrespect them, he wasn't being racist, he wasn't being nationalist. It was just lightheartedness that fell the wrong way. So yes, he should apologize, but nobody should be asking for his job, nobody should be questioning his professionalism, and nobody should be claiming that they should suspend him. Ultimately, boycotting the on-court interviews only hurts the fans who have paid to hear from Novak Djokovic, because we are the ones who want to hear what you have to say after you win a match. Channel 9 is still going to broadcast the Australian Open, and we're still going to watch. Those are my thoughts. What do you think?